outlined in the recent speech from the throne under the theme of serving the people. One of the paramount issues highlighted in the speech is the challenge of affordable housing, a concern affecting the core of our island community. The shortage of private sector housing has led us to confront what can only be termed a housing crisis. This scarcity has increased rental costs and threatened our island's economic development. In response, the government has pledged a substantial commitment of $15 million over the next 3 years towards renovating more affordable public housing units. Furthermore, the Ministry of Public Works, in collaboration with the Bermuda Housing Corporation, continues to make significant progress in renovating and retrofitting 137 older residential units. To date, 68 units have been completed and are either occupied or in the process of being occupied. These efforts will increase the availability of affordable housing options for Bermudians. 60 of these units are presently occupied and will undergo necessary refurbishments, while the remaining 77 units, which comprise the entire vacant and derelict units owned by the corporation, are slated for significant retrofits. These 77 units will increase the BHC rental inventory to 777 units upon completion, significantly augmenting our housing resources. We understand that the fluctuating nature of the market fails to consider those who require assistance in attaining home ownership or ensuring a stable living environment for themselves and their families. I'm proud to highlight the successful refurbishment of several housing units, including the Rock Oven Housing Apartment in St. David's, designed for a disabled family and which was formally opened a few weeks ago. The first phase of the refurbishment of the former hotel rooms at Harmony Club in Paget into apartments in September, and the completion of the 5-bedroom rooming house at Beacon Hill in Sands in October. Other properties include 5 Jenny's Lane, which has been completed and is now occupied, 22 Battery Road, which is near completion, Regent House in St. George's, which has been completed, the 13-unit Chelsea Apartments in St. George's, and the 12-unit Battery Road Lofts in St. David's, both of which are awaiting planning approval. These projects mark significant progress in our commitment to ensuring suitable accommodation for our people. The concentration has been on multiple units to provide housing for several families at a time. We are actively promoting housing developments within designated residential zones outlined in the Bermuda Plan and other specific geographical locations. According to the Department of Planning, 582 parcels or 181 acres of unoccupied land are classified under Residential 1, Residential 2, or rural categories without conservation development constraints. An in-depth analysis of housing supply and demand reveals a substantial availability of land within current residential zones, mixed-use zones, and the City of Hamilton. Consequently, if required, there's no immediate need to designate new lands for residential zoning. The Bermuda Housing Corporation's private sector rental program provides for the corporation to manage the property, pay the rent on time, and return the property in the condition it was originally rented, all at slightly below market rates. Landlords grappling with renting their properties can now find support through this initiative, which removes the day-to-day burden of managing properties. The government's mortgage guarantee program has already paved the way for 49 applicants to secure mortgages through local banks, empowering them to own homes for the first time. The provision of housing in the country cannot be the responsibility of government alone. We have made provisions for private developers to gain concessions by building in economic empowerment zones and the City of Hamilton. Another critical aspect for the ministry highlighted in the throne speech is our focus on improving our public highways. To be perfectly frank, this year has been a trying one for road paving, as the equipment and the plant have not been in the best shape. Several months of repairs to the plant have still not brought it back into service. We have been collaborating with the supplier of the plant, who currently has a representative on the island reviewing the state of the plant and options for its replacement. We acknowledge the inconvenience caused by delays due to island-wide trenching, and we are committed to upgrading road conditions for the benefit of all motorists as soon as possible. The repair and maintenance of our roads remain a top priority for the Ministry of Public Works. It's crucial to emphasize that while the current inconveniences might cause frustration among the motoring public, the eventual benefits will be significant. The ongoing infrastructure projects such as Balco's $250 million capital plan and our water and wastewater master plan involve excavating our roads, safeguarding our freshwater supplies, fortifying our electrical infrastructure, and ensuring proper sewage disposal. The public will recall the very wet start to summer and the work our ministry has been doing to fix potholes on our roads. We have successfully filled more than 100 potholes spread across 21 different areas across the island. Once again, I encourage residents to continue to report potholes to us via our email address, potholes@gov.bm. All reports will be promptly attended to and rectified. The ministry has allocated a budget of just over $2 million for roadworks this year, plus an additional $900,000 from the previous fiscal year, bolstering our capability to undertake more substantial capital roadworks within this period. While work continues on assessing our plant, we are working closely with Eastern Ashfold to both assist us with paving as well as providing our paving crews with asphalt. This process will run in parallel with the plans for a new plant so that paving work can continue whilst we source that plant. Efforts to increase funding for paving are also underway as we review our capital spending for the balance of this year. The ministry is committed to delivering on these two main throne speech initiatives while also managing the variety of other tasks that fall under the Ministry of Public Works. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. At this time, we're going to invite Minister Furbert to the podium to give her presentation.
Good day, Bermuda. I'm delighted to join you today to share about the work that our newly styled Ministry of Youth, Social Development, and Seniors will focus on during this parliamentary session. The ministry now touches all of Bermuda's population groups, providing social safety nets for our children, adults, seniors, and families. We will continue to empower our youth, establish personal and economic support for persons with insufficient financial resources, and ensure the protection and social well-being of Bermuda's seniors and persons with disabilities. I will first start with the 2023 Throne Speech initiatives, then share about the ongoing work the ministry is steadily progressing. The Independent Living Program, launched earlier this year, provides the opportunity for a maximum of 2 years of life skills, peer support, and educational planning for those who have aged out of the care of the Director of Child and Family Services on turning 18. To build upon the success of this initiative, the ministry will provide a level up component of the Independent Living Program, extending the services to young people between the ages of 17 and 17 and a half years old that remain in care. They will now benefit from the life skills preparation in this transitional stage where they begin to assume the responsibilities of independent living. Feedback from stakeholders, including the Independent Living Program participants, stated it would be more effective to expose those young people in the care of the director to the life skills and the experience of living independently in a supervised environment such that they are able to make informed decisions rather than waiting until they turn 18. While many are eager to become their own adult at the age of 18, The immediate responsibilities of a grown-up is starting and can be confusing as they cannot pick and choose what they want to have control over and hope someone else will take on the areas that they may not have considered. While participants will engage in daily life skills, they will also slowly integrate into the weekly group sessions. The topics covered in the daily life skills will include, but not be limited to, the following: money and food management, personal appearance, hygiene, health, housekeeping, housing, transportation, educational planning, employable skills, emergency safety skills, community resources, interpersonal skills, legal issues, and pregnancy prevention. In keeping with the promise made in last year's speech from the throne, this year the ministry established a multi-risk assessment conference, MOROC, model to address the myriad of issues arising from domestic abuse and family violence. The UK agency Safe Lives provided an invaluable review of the local services, identifying key priorities for the MOROC committee to address. The multi-agency represented committee will now develop a 5-year domestic abuse strategic plan that will incorporate and continue building upon key priorities identified in the Safe Lives Review. The focus will be to combat domestic abuse, mitigate against its familial and societal impacts, and promote the safety of children and families experiencing this trauma. As a reminder, the Safe Lives Review identified specific priorities that include a commitment to continue to increase domestic abuse awareness amongst professionals, focusing on developing shared understanding and language around domestic abuse, and ensuring survivors feel believed when they seek support. Increase domestic abuse awareness among strategic leaders and political partners with the goal of making domestic abuse a key priority and awareness of the resources required to tackle it. Specialized police training to increase police awareness of domestic abuse in order to improve survivor experiences when seeking support. A public campaign aimed at raising awareness of domestic abuse and its impact island-wide. Improve networking and access to perpetrator programs to support perpetrators towards changing behavior. In October, staff of the Department of Child and Family Services participated in a full day of training on domestic abuse, facilitated by the Center Against Abuse, a partner agency of the MOROC Committee. I participated in that training as well, which was very informative and will help participants in identifying signs of domestic violence and how to be sensitive, compassionate, and responsive to the needs of persons experiencing domestic violence. The MOROC Committee is also working towards hiring a domestic abuse liaison officer, a dedicated resource who will be based at the Center Against Abuse to support clients. The Center Against Abuse has assisted just over 100 clients since January this year. The government is committed to enhancing the lives of children and families through cross-border adoptions. It recognizes that growing up in a family is of primary importance and essential for the happiness and healthy development of a child. Hence, inter-country adoption offers a permanent family for a child where a suitable family cannot be found in his or her country. The Department of Child and Family Services is responsible for any adoption affecting Bermuda under the provisions of the Adoption of Children's Act 2006. The ministry will put forth amendments to the Act and the Adoption of Children Regulations of 2013 to reform the process by which Bermudians adopt children from overseas, making it less complicated, less frustrating, and less expensive, but always in the best interest of the child. Legislative amendments would empower Bermudians who desire to adopt a child from other jurisdictions by eliminating existing obstacles to fulfilling their desires for a family. The ministry will continue to collaborate with the charitable organization Home and other private sector partners who bring their passion, energy, and expertise to address homelessness in Bermuda. Homelessness is a growing problem in Bermuda. Current research by the Bermuda Charity Home indicates the homeless population within this definition reached 650 persons by December of 2022. Rough sleeping is the most visible form of homelessness, which can be voluntary or involuntary. A person can be voluntarily homeless for a number of reasons, and we know that there is substance abuse, mental health issues, domestic abuse, family breakdown, poverty, unhealthy relationships, or just plain apathy that could be the impetus for volunteering homelessness. Rough sleeping is the most known type of homelessness that Bermuda faces. However, the government alone cannot end homelessness in Bermuda. A long-term strategic and highly coordinated plan will be needed that involves the many service providers and stakeholders with a demonstrated commitment to ending homelessness. In this regard, the ministry, the charitable organization Home, and community and business stakeholders will collaborate to develop a homelessness strategy for Bermuda. A homelessness community perception survey was launched on October 3rd and ended on the 31st. Nearly 300 persons responded to the survey. The data is currently being reviewed and analyzed. The results will be critically important for informed and sound decision-making about homelessness as the strategy is developed. As part of the financial assistance reform, the ministry ensured the establishment of a short-term relief benefit. The government realizes that persons continue to experience financial hardship due to unforeseen circumstances, and with the relinquishing of the supplemental unemployment benefit that ended in November of 2022, persons in these situations have no option in meeting their immediate basic needs while taking steps to rectify their financial predicament. These types of situations place a mental burden on persons as they are unable to maintain their normal livelihood. The short-term relief benefit will serve people in need. I will speak more to this in the months ahead. Let me now take the opportunity to provide progress updates of the previous Ministry of Youth, Social Development and Seniors Throne Speech initiatives. The development of a national senior strategy is steadily progressing. The ministry has partnered with the Bermuda Health Council to bring this strategy to fruition. The Health Council, with vast experience and subject matter expertise in the healthcare discipline, and is a quango of the Ministry of Health. A project plan has been developed currently. Consultations are being held with both public and private stakeholders. A survey has been designed to collect information about challenges that our seniors face, what data is currently being gathered relating to seniors, the various programs and services offered to seniors, and any plan initiatives. This information will paint a picture of what services are currently in place for seniors and also what gaps exist and need to be addressed. The team will reach out to government ministries and departments, nonprofit organizations, quangos, and for-profit entities, as well to ensure the data collected is comprehensive. A community survey is also forthcoming that will target only seniors. The ministry is aiming to have the National Senior Strategy completed by April 2024. I plan to share more information with the public about its development of this strategy in a ministerial statement. A national disability register is critically important for our vulnerable persons with disabilities. It will assist in identifying which essential services are provided and the extent of the services required by those living with disabilities in Bermuda. The ministry continues to push forward in developing a disability register. In October, the ministry team met with representatives from the United Nations Development Program, country office in Jamaica, who are lending technical support for the creation of the disability register. To ensure that the disability register reflects best international practices, UNDP put our team in contact with the Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities. Jamaica already has in place an established disability register and legislation The team obtained insightful information from the Jamaica Council about where to start in setting up a disability register. The next leg of work will entail in framing the structure of the disability register and collecting the data. Other ministry initiatives, Dementia Care Service Pilot Program, ministerial statement will be read on this on November 24th. Youth Affairs National Youth Policy, which has 8 goals that will be executed. A directory of youth agencies is being developed in alignment with Goal 1 in the youth policy. In January 2024, a formalized registration will be rolled out for youth organizations and bodies to register. The objective is to establish a one-stop shop for our families when searching for youth activities for their children. Additionally, as per Goal 1, a focus will be on safeguarding our children and ensuring all youth agencies and organizations have a child safeguarding policy. On November 24th, the Youth Affairs section will be hosting a full-day workshop entitled Safeguarding Across Borders, where all youth agencies and organizations are invited to participate. The workshop will equip the entities to establish a safeguarding policy, which will ultimately be a requirement for requesting a government grant moving forward. Human Rights Amendment Act to the definition of family status. Amendments to the Charities Act are also 2 initiatives we are looking to progress. The Parenting Expo, which is an annual event, took place last Friday, November 10th, and saw close to 20 organizations come together on the front lawn of City Hall to provide information on community programs, child development support and services, mental health support and services, parent and education support, and extracurricular activities. Bermuda, the mission of the Ministry of Youth, Social Development, and Seniors is to protect all individuals during their lifetime and facilitate their well-being. I will continue the work during this legislative year and implement the needed policies and services to protect, assist, inform, and empower the youth and most vulnerable within our community. Thank you, and I welcome questions from the media.
Thank you. And we're going to have the RG with some questions. Sarah?
Good morning. Just talking about the work you're doing on the homelessness. There had been plans for a large facility, I believe, at Roberts Avenue that was rolled out a few years ago. What's happening with that?
That information definitely has been in the public domain. The Ministry of Public Works has recently added beds to the North Street Salvation Army. We've decided to go that route in addressing providing for more emergency shelter options or transitional living options for the homeless population.
So why was that facility not deemed to be suitable for that?
Which facility are you?
It was I believe it was an old school on Roberts Avenue.
Bishop Spencer, I think.
Bishop Spencer?
Yeah.
Bishop Spencer, sorry. Yeah, you're right.
Add
Yeah.
to that, or I'll allow the Minister of Public Works to add to that one.
Okay, I've got another question for you. You can address that after. So you mentioned that you're going to be working on finding some of the gaps in facilities and resources for seniors.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? And you're going to be sort of gathering that data from other agencies. As the Ministry of Seniors,
Mm-hmm.
do you have any of your own data on these gaps, and can you share that with us?
Yes. So over the years, there has been tons of information and research as it relates to our seniors. I believe many years ago, Age Concern embarked upon a study as it related to the needs of our seniors in our community. We do have that data. There's also data that has been collected within financial assistance. We know that financial assistance does assist the majority of seniors. There is research information in regards to that. As that data that is out there is dated, we are currently working with the Bermuda Health Council in getting more current and updated data to which sort of services programs could assist our seniors going forward.
Okay, then I have a couple of questions
Okay,
for
sure.
Minister Burch. Oh, we're going to stay on.
Okay, so we'll do questions from BBC now,
Okay.
and then we'll have Minister Burch come up.
Good morning, Minister.
Good morning.
My first question is in regards to the independent living program.
Mhm.
I wondered, what has the uptake been like there, and are there enough rooms to meet the level of need for those who require that program?
Yes, thank you for that question. Pretty soon we will be at capacity. There is, we are now at eight participants who are participating in that program. So we believe that the level of need is there, and there is uptake. So I'm actually quite proud of that. I'm also quite proud that the young people are being encouraged and putting their foot forward to be a part of this very important program and helping with their independent living skills.
Of course. And in regards to combating domestic abuse, what factored into the ministry's decision to develop a 5-year strategic plan as opposed to something on a smaller, perhaps more immediate scale?
So we actually, with the help of the research and information that Safe Lives UK, they did a pretty extensive research and survey here in Bermuda. It's actually their recommendation, one of their recommendations that came forward as what would be internationally standard best practice of how we should deal with domestic violence going forward. But there are immediate priorities that we will be working on throughout the years. So those would be more of short-term gains that we will focus on, but then there will be a longer 5-year strategy as well.
Okay. And any idea of the cost of that total strategy?
No, not at this point. We have currently put aside some funds to assist with a domestic violence liaison officer that will be working in connection with the Center Against Abuse, because that again was a recommendation through the Safe Lives UK recommendations to make sure that we are providing people who are responsive to the needs of persons experiencing domestic violence. But as we go through the strategy, then we'll be able to have a clearer idea of what sort of funding or finances would be needed to support initiatives within that strategy.
Okay, thank you. And the homelessness strategy, what is the timeline for that? Are we looking at 5 years?
So the timeline for completion, or?
For completion, yeah.
So for completion, we're actually pushing to have by the end of this year. Yeah, for the strategy. But with the strategy comes an implementation process and plan, which the strategy will be over a span of, I believe I'm not going to say, but it is a span of a couple of years. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we're going to welcome Minister Burch for questions, and we'll have the RG first.
Good morning, Minister.
Morning.
We might as well start with Bishop Spencer. What happened with that facility? Because I believe we can see now that it's going to be used for creative collaboration, that sort of thing. So is that not going to be used for homeless anymore?
Okay, so you're going back about
Few years.
5 years now.
I came and did the tour with you, yeah.
So the first plan for Bishop Spencer was that it was offered to the Salvation Army as an alternative to North Street Center. The Salvation Army done an assessment on its ability to be able to manage a facility that size, because you're quadrupling the size of what they currently have, and they decided that that was beyond their reach, and so they declined the offer to use it as a homeless shelter. Public Works has put it out to tender several times, and in the last 2 years, a contract was awarded to a private developer who has been there for the 2 years renovating and doing work to bring the property online.
Do you know what the property is?
It's
they're doing?
plumbing business.
Okay. Was any alternative, might be a question, facility found for what Bishop Spencer had originally hoped for the Salvation Army?
So there are a number of private entities that participate in helping with homelessness in Bermuda. The government has partnered both the Ministry of Public Works and the Ministry of the new ministry that Minister Furbert is in charge of. And so the Salvation Army has been doing this work for decades. When we returned to government in 2017, they had spent 3 years where they had received no funding from government. And that was part of the reason for not being able to move to Bishop Spencer. This present government made arrangements with Salvation Army to both support them from those two entities. The government paid for the renovations and improvements at North Street in part. The first part of that exercise was a partnership with led by two businessmen who had supported the Salvation Army. They being Mr. Jim Butterfield, Mr. Kirk Kitson, and the Housing Corporation collaborated and paid for half each of the renovation of the units that were renovated at Salvation Army. The government then paid for the installation of the new units that have recently been placed there, and that partnership is now working as smoothly as it ever was. I think we accept without fear of contradiction that the work of the Salvation Army in Bermuda and around the world is of benefit to the people of Bermuda and assists the government of Bermuda in doing what they're doing. And so we made a commitment to support them financially. We also put into the public domain that this should be above partisan politics. And that in the unlikely event there is a different government than the PRP government, that government should also support the work of the Salvation Army.
Okay, moving on to the potholes, you'd mentioned that there'd been some progress. Have you seen a reduction in the number of complaints you see coming to that email address or via phone or however they come?
They fluctuate. When it rains, they increase. When it doesn't rain, we're in pretty good shape. But I can say that the process for reporting and getting them addressed is working very smoothly. I rarely get any complaints anymore. People are using the email to report them. And certainly those that are reported in the West, I use the email to report them. They're done almost immediately. And so it is a process we recognize with all of the rain that we've had that we're going to have more potholes. And so we're taking steps to address them as quickly as we can.
Was there any fault in the method or because people were complaining that as soon as these were getting filled up, the rain was pounding down and opening them up again? Is there any change in, is that happening?
Bermudians are experts in everything.
Yeah.
I would submit that they should look at the work that has been done, particularly on the causeway and Kinley Field Road, where we've not been patching just a hole, but we've been cutting out a rectangular piece of tarmac and filling that in, and that seems to be working a lot better than what we were doing.
So that issue of them coming away right after that doesn't happen, or it has happened?
I suspect it will still happen. If we have the amount of rain that we've had this year continues, and it's likely to, that we will always have a problem with potholes, and we'll always have an issue with being able to fill them.
You mentioned something about the trying to seek more funds for this. Can you say anything more about how many more funds you need?
It depends. Okay, So paving roads is a fairly complicated process that involves importing asphalt, importing the mixture to create asphalt, importing aggregate, and creating, importing the mixture to create asphalt. So our ability to pave roads is dictated by the amount of asphalt that we can produce. At the moment, our plant is down, and we're utilizing Eastern Asphalt's plant. And so I don't want to put a figure on it, but if there is an opportunity to pave more roads and we need more money, the Minister of Finance has indicated we can ask, and we're likely to get a yes answer. This is one of the #1 issues of complaints in the country. We drive on those roads, so we're well aware of the issues surrounding the state of the roads in the country.
Could you hazard a guess or give a ballpark figure how much this whole project?
Well, I
looking at
don't have to hazard a
millions.
guess. I said if we paved, previously
Yeah.
I stated, if we paved all the roads in the country, it would cost $100 million. So a lot of money to pave roads.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And now we have questions from BBC.
Good morning,
Good
Minister.
morning.
Thank you. And just keeping with the potholes, you noted that the plant that is meant to produce asphalt has aged past its usefulness. Does the ministry know how much a replacement or replacement parts will cost?
I don't want to give you a figure because it depends on the type of plant you purchase. And so the two plants the country currently has is Eastern Asphalt has a batch plant. That means they produce batches of asphalt for specific areas. Our plant is a continuous plant. And so as much asphalt as we can produce or lay, we can produce. We are in the early stages now of talking with the supplier of the plant that we currently have, which is 20 years old, who are quite experienced in producing plants and equipment for asphalt. This is their sole area of responsibility. I indicated in my statement that the representative of the company is on island at the moment. We met yesterday. He's out looking at the plant that we have and the state of roads that we have. We will meet again this afternoon, before he leaves tomorrow, so that we can get some recommendations back from him about what it is that we want to do. But for the immediate period of road paving, we will continue to try and get the plant back online and on a temporary basis. But we will also utilize resources from Eastern Ashfold, both with having them do the work for us, as they are doing presently in St. George's, as well as producing asphalt for our crews to be able to pave the roads as well.
Thank you. And at this stage, I know you said you have the overseas expert here. Do you know if it's more cost effective to upgrade the plant or continue purchasing materials overseas?
I think the short answer is that the plant has to be replaced. It's 20 years old. Their guesstimate is about 15 to 20 years for plants of this nature. But it is a piece of metal equipment that has basically sat on a beach for 20 years at the quarry. And so it's subjected to all of the variances of salt water and salt spray and what have you. And so it does need to be replaced. We are looking at whether it can be repaired so that we can do some paving whilst the new plant is on order and being commissioned.
Okay. And considering that potholes are the #1 issue of complaints in the country right now, has the ministry considered having works and engineering staff work outside of contracted hours to speed up repairs?
There's no need for that. I live in the West, so I live in Southampton. I could tell you where every pothole is and has been for the last 3 years. And so I'm able to gauge our ability to deliver on our responsibility by either reporting it myself or having others that have reported it and seeing that the work is done in a matter of days. And so whilst I know a lot of people get joy out of posting things on social media, That'll never reach me. But emailing to the email address gets the message done, and they automatically go out and know what they need to do in order to repair it.
Of course. And moving to affordable housing,
Mhm.
I just wanted to clarify one of your statements. You noted that 582 parcels of unoccupied land is zoned for residential use. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
You noted that there are 582 parcels of,
Yes.
and that's unoccupied land zoned for residential.
Yes.
Okay, so will the ministry be utilizing that to bring more affordable housing units online or attracting private investment to those areas?
Most of that property is privately owned. It's not government owned. As I indicated in my statement, there is not a demand for new property developments at the moment. Certainly, if one looked at the amount of vacant and derelict properties that are throughout the country and owned privately, if they were all brought back online, there would not be a need for new property development.
And lastly, are you aware of how many people remain on the wait list for affordable housing?
So BHC had a board meeting yesterday, and there are 149. I don't think that's accurate. I think that's on the low side. But that is the number that we have at the moment.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and that concludes our press conference for today.